Hello, welcome to another episode of Breaking Mediocrity. I'm your host, D.A. Bourne. I want to start with this stat. All right, so this is the median household income for Americans from the year 2022. So this might be higher, this might be lower, but this is from 2022 and it's breaking down each race. All right. At number one, for the highest median household income was Indian Americans, and this is like East Indian, and this is an average income of $123,700. So, right, they're number one. Number two, Asian Americans with $108,700. This is per year. Third was white Americans with $81,060. Fourth was Latino Americans with $63,750. And fifth was Black Americans with $52,860. What has gone wrong, and why have our black people not figured this out? But that's not what we're just going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to break the curse of poverty in your life. All right. Like I said, this is Breaking Mediocrity. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm on a journey to financial freedom. I'm not there yet. I'm not a financial guru yet to tell you how to do it. I just want you to go on this journey with me, and I hope you can join me on this journey together as we break mediocrity. You can't achieve success without breaking mediocrity. All right, let's go. So, if you look in the past couple times, a couple episodes ago, we talked about the most ignored financial verse in the Bible, and that was found in Proverbs 13 verse 22, and it says, "Good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly." So I want to focus on the first half of that verse again, because like I said, we ignore this verse. We know this verse, especially if you're a believer, a Christian, you know this verse. But for some reason, when we get towards adulthood, we just totally forget about it. But those who do think about it in the early stages of their life, they apply it, and then they go on towards that growth, building that wealth, so that their children and their children's children have something that they can hold on to. That's something, an inheritance that they can be financially stable. This verse is so prophetic because it's looking towards the future. And we know that as we go towards the future, we have to deal with inflation. We have to deal with interest rates. Things that cost 20 years ago are much higher now. We know, especially if you live in Canada, you know the increase in carbon taxes increase the price of gas. You know, we've seen groceries go up. We've seen everything go up. So this is a prophetic verse, leaving something for your grandchildren and putting it away for them, putting it where they can gain interest, so that when it's time for your grandchildren to inherit that money, it is applicable for the times that they're living in, because the interest has increased that what you've put in, and now they can live more comfortably in a society that doesn't want them to live comfortably, in a society that wants them to be dependent on the government. It is deeper than we think, you know what I mean? Because as we look at this chart again, we see that Indian Americans and Asian Americans, and if you're Canadian, you can apply this too, because I think these stats are very, very similar to what is in Canada as well. Indian and Asians have this concept. They come into North America and immediately their mindset is, I'm building for the future. And so the reason why these two ethnicities in particular have an average median household income of 6 digits is because they got that mindset. They got that mindset to conquer. They got that mindset to be entrepreneurs. They got that mindset to be corporate. They got that mindset to create a monopoly. And they've mastered it. They've mastered it more than who have been in this country longer, which is whites, Latinos, and black. And like I said, country, I'm talking continent, I'm talking North America, I'm talking Canada and US here. All right? But when it comes to black Americans, and we're the lowest, 52,860, how did this happen? How did this happen? Also, me and my wife were talking about this the other day, and this happened because of slavery. I think slavery really, we have not gotten out of what happened to us during slavery. And when I think about it, I can I'm not say fully understand, but I'm starting to understand the concept of what happened. All right. So during the times of slavery, many of the slaves did not know how to read or write, but there were a small percentage of them that did. Some of them were the house slaves. Some of them got figured out how to read, and maybe they were fortunate enough to learn how to read. And one of the things that they had to read was the Bible. So I had to envision myself in a scenario where, okay, if I was a slave and I knew how to read, and I'm looking at the Bible, and I'm looking at Proverbs chapter 13 to 22, and it says, good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren. I'm thinking to myself, how in the world can I leave an inheritance for my grandchildren when I can't even leave nothing for my kids, when I don't even know how to raise money because I'm a slave? I have to work hours upon hours upon hours a day for the white man so that he gains his wealth, so that he can gain an inheritance. But I'm supposed to leave an inheritance for my grandchildren when I have nothing? Like, how the bleep is that supposed to happen? So I'm thinking of that, and I'm like, I understand now why it is so tough for Black Americans to succeed. Black Canadians, it's the mentality. Because look, even though slavery is long time gone, the mentality stuck with us. The mentality stayed there. We're just like, okay, no more slavery, but I can't create an inheritance for my grandchildren. I'm barely knowing how to create something for my current children. Shoot, I don't even have enough to do what I want to do. And a lot of times we want to blame the system. We want to blame slavery. And it's easy to blame slavery for this mentality. I'm not gonna necessarily blame slavery. I'm blaming the devil. I'm blaming the enemy. I'm blaming Satan, because he spread those lies. He wanted us, Black people in particular, to believe the lie that we cannot gain wealth. And it is stuck with us. And even though I don't live in slavery, you don't live in slavery, nobody's living in slavery, we still have that 9 to 5 aspect in our minds that we cannot get rich. You know, I got people my age thinking that I'm never gonna get rich. I just have to adapt to the system. And needless to say, that poverty mindset is still there. However, if you look at that chart again, we can get that concept. If the Indian and Asian Americans came into America and into Canada with that mindset that I can succeed, the rest of us can say, why not us? Why not myself? But you gotta break that poverty curse, because that could be holding you back. And it starts with the mindset. If you make the mindset that I am determined to succeed, I am determined to gain wealth, I'm determined to create an inheritance for not only my children but for my grandchildren, I am determined to have enough left over so I can give to others, it can happen. It starts with the mindset, and then it's applying action. Now, if you're watching this and you're not a Christian or whatever, if you are a Christian, all you gotta do is ask God, big Lord, remove this curse of poverty, and He'll do it, because it starts in the mind. It starts in the mind, and once it's out of your mind, the curse is gone. And if you're not a believer, if you're not, you can also say to yourself, I am determined not to carry the curse of poverty. And you say it in your mind, and then you apply the action. You educate yourself. You go and you find things of increasing your wealth. You find creative ideas. You think of strategies. You research. And then you put in the work. And it is not an easy process. It takes a while. It's a marathon. Trust me, it's a marathon. I'm currently on this marathon. Like I said, I'm not there yet, but I know it's gonna happen. But you gotta break the curse of poverty. Are you ready to break the curse of poverty? If you're ready to break the curse of poverty, then you're already heading towards your financial freedom. You're already heading to the point where we can break mediocrity. In order to live in this society, you have to break mediocrity. I live in Toronto, and they said the average person to live comfortably, a single person to live comfortably in Toronto is 120,000 Canadian dollars. That's equivalent to about 90,000 US, 80 to 90,000 US. So think about that. That's not easy. So it's either you have to live frugal, and to me, to live frugal is not really living comfortably, because you have to give up some stuff. You have to eat less. You have to go out less. You have to drive less. So that's not living comfortably. That's like adapting yourself to living the way you don't want to live, but you're adapting to the system. To live comfortably means you have to take a step above, which means you got to work above the 9 to 5. You got to work your butt off. But in the long term, if you do the stuff you need to do, you'll be breaking mediocrity, and you'll be living financially free. And that's where I'm trying to go. And I hope you are too. Anyway, that's it. Like, share, and subscribe. This is Breaking Mediocrity. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. God bless. Peace.